Hi everybody, and thanks for purchasing Unique in the Creek Fun Flower Kit. This is one of my favorite flowers. It's so nice and bright, and it will brighten up any door, any room, anywhere you put it. So the fun flower comes in the bright fuchsia and this pretty turquoise. Both flowers come with a yellow center, which I'm going to put to the side because we're not going to use that right now. You'll get 8 green leaves. Okay, put that to the side as well. A string for hanging. You'll have 8 to 10 small 3-inch zip ties. 45 6-inch zip ties. 2 clips, a measuring tool, and the Unique in the Creek wreathing system. What you do need is a hot glue gun and a good pair of scissors. Okay, so for right now, I'm just going to put this all aside. Okay. First thing we're going to do is we are going to cut our mesh. Now, to cut the mesh, quick and easy, you're going to roll the mesh out in front of you. So hopefully you're working on a table. We're going to cut them into 9-inch pieces. So the cutting tool is 9 inches in length. So we want to cut it with the tool lengthwise. We don't want it widthwise. We don't want it this way. We want it the lengthwise. Okay? So you're going to put it right in the center of your unrolled mesh, and I just give it a little lip there, right over top to hold on. And then we're going to flip it over 6 times, making sure the mesh is nice and taut. So it's 1, so it's still tight against the board. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now you're going to take your clothespins and you're going to clip the edge, so it keeps the mesh into place while you're cutting it. Now, if you do have really sharp sewing scissors that you're using, you can do a couple more flips, up to 8 flips, I would say. But I'm just using cheap dollar store scissors, so I'm just going to do the basics. So I'm going to unroll the mesh here. So I'm right-handed, so I'm going to keep my mesh roll to the left. And I'm just going to cut this bundle off the roll. Okay, so now we have 2 folded sides. What we're going to do is we're going to cut down the middle of each side, and then it'll give us our 6 pieces. So what I like to do is just start it, and then I kind of hold it up, making sure all the mesh is in my scissors. There we go. Make sure it's all cut. Now this mesh is really, it's got a lot of metallic in it compared to the other mesh, so it might fray a little bit more, but that's okay. It's so pretty. Okay, now we just cut a bunch of pieces in less than a minute. Now, they don't have to be perfect in size, but you want them somewhat the same size. We're going to cut this whole roll. So when you cut this whole roll at 9 inches, you should have 40 pieces of mesh cut. So I'm going to stop right here and pause it, and I'm going to cut my mesh, and I want you guys to do the same. And once your mesh is cut, if you want to press play, we'll continue on with the wreath making system. See you in a sec. Hi there and welcome back. Okay, so now we have all our mesh cut into 9-inch pieces, and it's all rolled up. So we just keep a nice neat little pile. The first thing I want to do is go through the frame. On the frame there is coordinating holes. There's a set of 3, a set of 2, 2, and 2. each one of these makes a complete circle. So that's the outer circle, the middle, and then the inner circle. Okay, there is ones that have 3. This outer third hole is going to be left blank for now. It is going to have our leaves coming out of it. Okay, so we're going to not use them right now. We're just going to use this set, these set, and this set. The first thing I like to do is I like to put my string in for hanging. That way I'm not digging through the mesh trying to find the holes, the hanging holes that are marked. And it's just much easier to add as before you start it. Okay, so what you're going to do is we're going to use the natural side. Wrong string. So come up through the brown side, bring your strings together, and you're just going to double knot and tie it in a knot. Okay, knot it nice and tight, and then cut out the excess. All right, so we're all ready to go. So for this for this type of flower, we are going to be doing 3 different types of petals. There's one type for the very inner, so it kind of surrounds the center of our flower. And then the outer 2 circles is a different type of petal. And then the green leaves is, again, another type of petal. Okay, so the first petal we're going to do is for the very inner circle. So we're working from our inside out. So you're going to take one of your pieces of mesh, and it's got the natural curl, so it wants to roll up on itself. What you're going to do is you're going to take this mesh and you're going to fold it over. So the surged ends are at the end and it's long. Okay, once you've got that piece, now you do have clips that you can help you hold your mesh down in place. You are going to scrunch down about 3/4 of the way down. You're going to make a petal that kind of looks like this. Almost looks like a shell or something. Okay, so what I've done again is it's like a rectangle. I've gone down the very center, squishing between my fingers and my thumbs and pinching to make this sort of formation. Now I'm going to get one of my 3-inch zip ties and I'm going to go around the center of it. Now for the zip ties, if you don't know how to use a zip tie, there is a certain way to use zip ties. I'm just going to put this one on so I don't lose it. There we go. Okay, so I'll demonstrate on the 6-inch one. So the zip tie consists of a head and a tail of the zip tie. The zip tie has a flat portion of the head and a more concave portion. To use the zip tie, we're always going to be going tail in to the flat side of the head. So for example, I'm going to put it through the flat side, and when you have it right, you'll hear this zipping sound. And when you pull on it, it doesn't come apart. Okay, we always want to go through the flat side. Should you go through the wrong way, which is actually kind of difficult. So if you are struggling, just check your zip tie to make sure you're not going in the wrong way, because it's almost impossible with these. But anyways, if you do put it in wrong and you go to pull it, you'll hear no zipping sound and your zip tie won't be locked. So again, flat side, concave side, the tail is going in the flat side and you will hear that zipping sound. Okay, so every time you do use a zip tie, you're listening for that zip sound. So I've done my first one with the little zip tie, and I'm leaving I didn't tighten it completely. I left a little bit of a space, and that space is because we're going to slide the bigger zip tie in through the small zip tie like this. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now though is I am going to go around. I'm going to make actually 8 of these shell type petals. So again, I'll show you. So take a piece of your mesh and you're going to fold it down, and then you're going to go down about 3/4 of the way down this way and pinch it in the middle. Get one of your 3-inch zip ties, bring it around and tighten it. Not too tight, but tight enough that it's not going to come out. Okay, so I'm going to pause you guys here and you go make your 8 petals, and I'm going to do the same, and we'll come right back. Okay, welcome back. So now we got 8 poofs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So yours should look like this. So about 3/4 of the way down is the small zip tie. Kind of tight, but not too tight that we can't fit another zip tie in there. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start working on the center circle here. And what we're going to do is we're going to go up through the bottom, the back of the board, and go in the very first circle, or the very first hole close to the inner space here, so close to the center. Now I can feel underneath the board that my zip tie is facing the ceiling. That's the way I do my wreathing, so I know exactly that my zip tie is in the right spot and it's going to go into the right spot. So what you're going to do is take the end of your zip tie, you're going to go up over the small zip tie, through it, so it's attached. So now this poof is attached to the larger zip tie. You're going to bring the end down through the corresponding hole, pull it down tight, and zip it up tight and pop it into the hole. So you're going to, as you're pulling tight, you're going to pop it, the head of the zip tie, into its hole there. And now you're going to pull the small zip tie as tight as you can so it doesn't come out. I like to keep the tails to the left all the time. That way I know where to look to snip off the tails. Okay, so we'll do this next hole here. So again, I'm going through the back of my board. Got my zip tie. It's the flat part of the head is facing the ceiling because I can feel that with my fingers. Take my poof with the tail to the left side, about 3/4 of the way down. Make that a little bit tighter. I'm going to go up, over, and down through the zip tie into the corresponding hole. Pull down, kind of lift the board up so you can see your zip tie underneath, and zip it tight. You're going to pull and pop it into the hole. Now you're going to pull the small one nice and tight and cut the tail. And again, through the first hole towards the center, my zip tie's flat. My poof, up, over the zip tie. So if you can see that, it's going through the zip tie, and then that tail of the zip tie is going through the corresponding hole. I'm pulling down both parts of my zip tie underneath the board, and I'm zipping it tight. You can hear it zip, and I'm popping it into the hole. I'm going to tighten this and snip off the tail. Okay, so I'm going to leave you here and you're going to do the rest of these holes. And then once you're done these inside holes, you're going to press play and come back to me. Okay? Okay, welcome back. So this is what we have in the center of our frame right now. And what we're going to do eventually, once we get it all up, all the other spaces filled, this center is going to be hot glued into the space here, and these will be tucked all around the yellow center. So that's just to give you an idea of what we're doing. So, but we're not doing that yet. We're going to do that at the end. Now what we're going to do is the next petals. So that would be this inner circle here, so just above the poofs. Now you could move these around so they're not sticking outwards, so you can see the holes for the next circle. This is just going to go around the center once we put it on there. This one looks like it's got to be pulled. So if you have some that are really, really poofy, like this one and this one, I can pull down. You just grab some of the mesh and try and pull it down a little bit. There we go. There, that's better. I'm going to pull a little bit of this one down. So the tails are facing outwards from these poofs. I don't know what else to call it, but they look like poofs. Okay, that looks good. So the next type of petal we are going to do, you're going to take one of your mesh pieces, and again there's that natural curl. What you're going to do is put it face down towards the table so it's curling downwards, and you have your serged edges on the sides, and what you're going to do is just squish up the middle and make a bow tie type formation. Get your clothespin and pinch it in the middle. So this is what you have. So I'm going to take another piece and do the same thing. Serged edges are at the side. You're squishing up the middle between your fingers and your thumbs. Take your clothespin and pinch it in the middle. Now, if you do have clothespins lying around in the house, you might want to pause and go grab some. You can pre-make a bunch of these bow tie type things. That way you can just zip them all in as we're going along. But for now, I have two, so I'm just going to show you the two, how to put them in. Okay, so again, now we're working on this inner circle. So these holes right here, just above, beyond the poops there. So what I'm doing is, again, the same thing. I'm going from underneath the board, going through the hole closest to the center, and my zip tie head is facing towards the ceiling. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is grab my bow tie that's pinched into in the center. I'm going to put that center pinch right in between the two holes. So that space right here, let's see, the space right here. So in between these two holes, I'm going to put this bow tie, and I'm going to go over the mesh and through the corresponding hole, pull down, zip it tight, and pop it in the hole. Okay, I'm going to do the next hole over here. Again, going through the hole closest to the center. My flat side of my zip tie is facing towards the ceiling. I'm taking my other pinched ruffle and putting it in between the two holes, taking the end of my zip tie, going over the mesh, down into the corresponding hole, and I'm going to zip this tight. I must say, this mesh is like one of my favorites. It's so pretty. Okay, and then I'm going to bring this up. So for this circle and this outer circle, that's what we're going to do for the rest of the flower. So we're just making these butterfly or bow tie type things and putting them in each of the corresponding holes. Remembering that this third hole is going to be for our leaves, and that's going to be a different type of petal. Okay, I'm going to do one more and then I'm going to pause it here and let you continue on working away on your petals to make your flower. Okay, oh, I didn't put any in a clip though, but so I got the serged edges on the side. I'm pinching up the middle, putting the middle pinch in between the two holes, bringing the zip tie over the mesh down through the corresponding hole and zipping it tight. So the back looks like nice and neat. All the heads are popped into the hole, and then once you're done this section, so when you flip it over, you'll be able to tell that what you have done, because you'll see that the zip tie is in the two holes. So once you're done all this, you can snip these off, or you can just snip them off altogether. It's totally up to you. Okay, I'm going to leave you here. So you're going to finish again, like you're going to finish the rest of this circle, and you're going to finish this outer circle, the same kind of technique as these bow tie things, and then we're going to do the green leaves. Okay, we'll see you in a sec. Okay, welcome back. So I've put on all my, it even looks pretty like this without even a center, but I put on all my ruffles for my second circle and my third circle. So what you're going to do now, first you're going to plug in your glue gun. So we're going to use it shortly, and we're going to need it nice and hot. So if you can pause your video right now and plug in your glue gun, and you'll be good to go. Okay, once your glue gun's all plugged in, you're going to flip your wreath frame over, and you're going to start snipping the tails off all the zip ties. Now this way you'll be able to tell to make sure that you've filled in all the spots. And I've already did a check, and all my spots are filled in, so I know I'm not missing anything anywhere. That's what's beautiful about this system, that you know exactly where to put the mesh to make the perfect wreath. And your wreath will look the same every time. Although, once you do it one or more times, you get better and better and better. So, if you're doing this for teaching purposes, you only need to maybe do 2 or 3 and you'll be a pro. Okay, so I went around and I popped all the heads into the holes, so we have a nice flat back and we're not going to scratch anything, and it's nice and neat. Okay, I have 1, 2, 3, I have 4 extra pieces of mesh. I'm going to put these extra pieces, if you can see there's 8 holes still empty around the edges. I'm going to put 1 piece of mesh at every other hole. And then the other holes that don't have the mesh, I'm going to put the green leaves. So I'm going to make these into ruffles. Now if you have 5 pieces, it depends how tightly you wound your mesh up around your measuring tool. You may have 5 pieces, you may have 3 pieces. You can just use it to fill in. So what you're going to do for these few ruffles, you're going to go in the hole that's already got a shared zip tie in there. So you're going to go in there with your head facing up to the ceiling, and you're going to put your ruffle in between that hole and the outer hole. So you're going to go up around the mesh and down that corresponding hole. Pulling it up so it looks like a ruffle, not a tube. And then you're going to pull and zip it tight and pop it into the head into the hole. So I've done here. I'm going to skip this one, so I'm going to do this one. I'm going to grab another zip tie, put it through the hole that's got a zip tie in it already. Get my mesh ruffle, put it in between the two holes, go up and down, corresponding hole. Making it tight and popping it into the hole. I just love this color. Okay, so we got one, skipped one. We're going to skip one and we're going to go right here. Making a ruffle. Putting the pinch, going over top the mesh, down the hole. So by now you guys are professional at doing this. By the time you get to the outside pieces here. Zip it tight and pop it in the hole. It doesn't really look like much of a ruffle, but there we go. Fix it up. So I have one more right here that I'm going to put in. So up through the hole that has the zip tie. Flat side of my zip tie facing up. Making a ruffle up over the mesh, down the hole, and our turquoise is complete. So I'm going to go around and just fix my little ruffles. Or you can just leave it like this. It's so pretty. Although you can see the board because we have to push the centers back. But okay, so we have this spot, this spot, this spot, and this spot for leaves. Now I'm going to put 2 sets of leaves. Since I have 8 pieces of the green mesh, I'm going to put 2 in each of these holes. Now to do the leaves is now another different technique. So you're going to take your piece of green mesh, see the rolled side, you're going to put it facing down on the table and you're going to put it into a diamond. Okay, and you are going to scrunch up from corner to corner using your fingers and your thumbs, pinching it in the middle so it makes, you can already see that it's like almost a leaf formation already. And you're going to flip this up, and now I like to move it around to make sure each leaf is about the same length, and then I'm going to pinch it in the middle like this with my clothespin. Now I'm going to do another one. So I'm going to put the curl side down, and I'm pinching corner to corner, flipping the leaves up so they look equal, and another set of leaves. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my zip tie and I'm going to find one of the holes that has nothing in it, and this time I'm going to go through that hole. I'm not going to go through the shared hole. I'm going to go through the hole just like so, and I'm going to come around the edge of the frame. So still with the flat side facing up to the ceiling. Glue guns in the way. Okay, flat side. Okay, and now I'm going to open one set of leaves, and I'm going to open the other set of leaves, and I'm going to put one on top of the other, so we have 4 leaf petals. So what I've done is just put the middle of one on top of the other. Okay, and I'm going to hold it like this. So I got both sets of leaves in my fingers, and I'm going to put the middle in between the hole and the edge of the board. And then I'm going to zip it. once it's to the edge of the board, the head of the zip tie, and then now pull and zip tight and pop it into the hole. So it's right there. Okay, so there's one set of leaves. So I'm going to go to this one now and do corner to corner and flip it up. Now I like to flip it up before I put them in and put the clothespin in, because once it's closed for like a minute or so, it actually takes the V-shaped formation that we need for these leaves. And it's easier to put in the zip tie. Okay, so I got 2 sets of leaves again. I'm going to take my zip tie. I'm going to go through the outside hole. So the outside hole. Okay, I'm going to take the one set, and I'm going to take the other set. I'm going to put the one set on top of the other set. Now you want, when you're putting them in, you want the curl of the leaf to face down towards the table. You don't want it facing up, because when you're hanging it on the door, then you can pull the leaves and leaves will rest right against the door. So I'm going to put this bunch of leaves, the center, between the hole and the edge of the board. I'm going to zip tie it and pull it till the head hits the edge of the board, and then I'm going to swing it around, pull, and pop in the center of the hole there. Okay, I've got another hole here. We're almost done. So corner to corner, flip up, making sure it's even. Curl down, corner to corner, flip up, and clothespin. So I'm going to put it right there. So take one out, put the other out, put one on top of the other. The leaves are facing outwards. My zip tie flipped around, so make sure your flat side is facing you, facing up towards the ceiling before you zip. There we go. Okay, to the edge of the board. I'm going to flip it around and pop it into the hole. Okay, got one more set of leaves. Oh my goodness, this is so pretty. Okay, corner to corner again. Flip the leaves around. Clothespin. Oh, I lost one of my leaves. Where'd it go? Oh, that's okay. I'll just put one in there. So find that outside hole. So this is the last hole that we have to fill. Oh my goodness, I'm just dropping everything. Okay, so I'm just going to put one set of leaves in here. I don't know where my other mesh went, probably under the table. That's okay. No one will be able to tell, and you just don't tell anybody, because there's no mistakes in crafting. Alrighty, we are done with these zip ties. And deco mesh is so messy. It's like the messiest, but it makes such pretty flowers. Okay, so now we're going to flip over, and we're going to cut these tails off. Alrighty, make sure all your heads are pushed in. And you did it! We've done the flower. Well, almost. So, now, the next thing we're going to do is glue in our center. So this takes a little bit of moving the mesh around. Get your clothespins, or 2 clothespins. Clothespins are the most handiest things for the wreathing. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to stick our hand in the center of the wreath and kind of push back. And I like to try and clip a section back. So the clothespins that are actually kind of holding it back. And what we're going to do, now this is a tight fit, but you're going to move the mesh around so that this center sits flat onto your Uitc Creek board. Oh, look at the yellow and blue pop. You guys see that? Look at that. Beautiful. Okay, so what you're going to do is you make sure it's on the board, and now you're going to gently pull some of your mesh to make sure it's not underneath your styrofoam. And you can kind of feel and move your styrofoam around, and it will fit snug in there. This one looks like it's stuck. There we go. It's really stuck. There we go. Yeah, make sure all your mesh poofs are up and not stuck underneath. So it just takes a little bit of shimmying around, and I think you can kind of tell once you're doing it if it's in place. Okay, so once you have it in place, I like to just, still with pushing back on your mesh, just slightly lift up the foam and pump that glue underneath and hold. Turn your wreath again, and then also with this way you can also see if there's any mesh underneath. So you're going to lift it up, pump some, make sure you have glue stick in there. I'm running out of glue. Alright. Okay. Alright. Lifting, pump the glue, and push down. So turn. So if you do it in 4 spots, you pretty much push down, turn. Make sure you don't touch the hot glue, because you can get severely burned. And trust me, I know. Okay, so I pumped a lot of glue in there, and now I'm just going to press down. Look at these colors pop. Wow, if that doesn't say spring, summer, I don't know what does. Take your clothespins off. Okay, so as I'm holding down, I'm going to move. I think some of my poof is coming out. I'm just going to move it coming so that it goes around the circle, around the inside. Now this is a fun flower, so there's no rhyme or reason to it. You just kind of move the mesh wherever you want it, wherever it looks good, making sure you can't really see the frame. Opening up some of your ruffles, fixing them up so they're ruffles and not tubes. The more ruffly they are, the better the. Now this one is kind of, I think, come out of its zip tie, but that's okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pump a little bit of glue very carefully along the side of the mesh, or of the center. Take my clothespin and kind of push, because I think some of the mesh came out of that little zip tie in this one. And I'm just going to push with my scissors. Put some glue there, and I just pushed it down a bit. Now you can fiddle around more with it when it's on the door. You can see it better when it's hanging rather than on your table. But I think I love it. And this is called the Diane Funflower. Look how pretty. that is. I cannot wait to take a picture of that. Now, like I said, you can see and move your mesh ruffles around much, much better when it's on the door. And that's what I'm going to do. I spend at least 10 minutes fixing leaves and ruffles and petals and everything. And then once you've done it once, you pretty much don't have to do it again. Same with the, if you don't like the strings that come off, you can trim that up on the door, or like just before you hang it up on your door, take it outside and do it outside. Now, I like my leaves to join together. So what I mean is, get your clothespin handy. I run a little bit of glue. Now we have a double petal here, so I'm only going to do it to this inside petal. I run a little bit of glue along the edge of the petal here, just towards the bottom. I'm going to take these two and I'm going to clothespin that right where I put the glue. I'm going to do it on this one as well, making sure you don't touch the hot glue. Just run a little bead, about a 1/4 inch, grab the middle of the two leaves, and then clamp it together with your clothespin. It just gives a nice more greener effect around the middle. Okay, that one should be done. So you take your first clothespin off, add a bit of glue, grabbing the center of the two leaves, and then closing it. Gosh, zip ties everywhere. Okay, and one last leaf section. So it's just a single leaf or petals. And so I put a little bit of glue, and I'm going to clip it together. Okay, we're done with the glue gunning. Now you can go around and fix your petals. Trim. Wow. And that is it. This is, now you can take the clothespins off your leaves. This is the Diane Funflower. Turn one of these lights off. Look how pretty that is. And again, I will fool around with the mesh when it's on the door. So our turquoise fun flower, 3 different techniques in there, a nice neat back, no pipe cleaners, no cuts of pipe cleaners, a nice hanging string, and beautiful. Now, if you're going to hang it on a door that does get a lot of sunlight, you may want to spray your flower to so it prevents it from fraying with, I like to use the Krylon clear, transparent, non-yellowing, and it says indoor, outdoor, clear spray. Now you're going to spray this all over your wreath. Now not too much because it'll make it sticky, but this will also prevent it from, and help it stop fraying. Do this outside because this stuff smells horrid, but it works really well. And if you're going to put it right outside, I would spray a really good amount of it. I have a flower on my gate fence. It's holding up really well. It's been there for about a month now. And I keep checking it, and it still looks like the day I made it. So there we go. I hope you enjoyed making your fun flower, and you're addicted. And you'll want to make more. And thanks again for joining me, and